Paris-Roubaix is the third monument of the cycling season, and after the Tour de France, is arguably the most recognizable race in the sport. It is a classic event, so to give you more facts, all about the history, stories, and highlights of it, we are back with a new movie. So welcome back to Cycling News Live, you all. We hope you are well, and excited to watch the entire video, so without further ado, let's get started. Before starting with the stories, let's start with the history of Paris-Roubaix. Was founded in 1896. Making it one of the oldest bike events in existence. A shaky claim asserts that Bastogne-Liege is the oldest race still in existence, although the only other identifiable events preceding the establishment of Roubaix are long-dead relics of past classics such as Paris-Rouen and Paris-Brest-Paris. Rewind to 1895, and two Roubaix entrepreneurs who had just erected a velodrome in the small northern town that had already hosted a meet featuring the dominant track star of the day, American Major Taylor. However, the couple desired greater publicity for their company and called the Parisian sports weekly Le Vélo to inquire about their participation in a race that would begin in Paris and end at the new velodrome in Roubaix. It was billed as a warm-up race for the legendary Bordeaux-Paris race. Paul Rousseau, the newspaper's director, properly approved. However, the first edition was difficult to organize due to worries over it being hosted on Easter Sunday. How would the riders get to church? Wouldn't people rather go to church than the velodrome? The date was altered in compliance, and it was the German Josef Fischer who won, with Maurice Garin, who would go on to win the first Tour de France, finishing third. Every edition until 1919 ended at this old velodrome, after which the race spent years finishing at various places near Roubaix until it gained its permanent home at the Roubaix Velodrome in 1943. Of course, road conditions in 1896 were far from ideal, and rather than today's requirement for organizers to seek out cobbled sectors, there was little choice back then. Roads that weren't horrendously paved, cobbled, cindered, or just plain dirt were the unusual. Indeed, one could be forgiven for thinking that the race's dreadful conditions, along with numerous hazards and a generally hard crack of the organizer's whip, earned it the moniker Hell of the North. In reality, it was the catastrophic impacts of war that gave Paris-Roubaix its ageless moniker, coined by journalists inspecting the course before the race's resurrection after World War I. However, when Nord-Pas-de-Calais recovered from the wars fought on its open wastes, the French economy recovered, and roads gradually improved. Race directors discovered that they needed to actively seek out cobbled parts to sustain the spirit of the event. However, the foundation of Les Amis de Paris-Roubaix was preceded by an era of domination from Eddy Merckx, Francesco Moser, and Mr. Paris-Roubaix, Roger de Vlamingh, in the 1960s and 70s. This 1,000-strong organization was created in 1983 to preserve the spirit of the Queen of the Classics. Their goal of identifying and repairing cobblestone roads to be utilized in the race has been praised ever since, as has their upkeep of existing ones, including the harsh Forest of Ehrenberg, Carrefour de l'Arbre, and Mont de Pével sections. Let's talk about the stories. Troisville. Then, with 100 miles to go, the wait is gone. The break hits, and I mean hits, the Troisville cobbles with 2 minutes on the pursuing pack. If you've ever ridden on cobblestones, real cobblestones, deep and knobbly and painful, I hope you never have to. However, if you're from Belgium or the north of France, you're surely familiar with the sensation. The bone-rattling shaking of the body, the chattering of teeth in the mouth, and the hold on the handlebars that never seems strong enough. On the way down, it's as if your brain is being tossed around in your skull like a cosmopolitan in a cocktail shaker. Consider this, and then add a regular dose of heavy rain to the mix. Imagine trying to brake and having no grip against the rumble, trying to hang on when the rain makes everything slippery, gloves, handlebars, trying to steer with mud and filth pummeling the face, dirt in the mouth sprayed up from the man in front of you who is just as unpredictable as you are in this moment. It's not so much about racing as it is about surviving, not so much about bike handling as it is about trusting the bike not to fail you, and not so much about competing as it is about commiserating. It is, in a word, dreadful. Everything, of course, splits. Some cyclists are injured, although they are only minor players. The perennial duo of Wout van Aert, Jumbo-Visma, and Mathieu van der Poel, Alpecin Phoenix, once again embroiled in their unending feud, are among the favorites for this race, securely in the pack behind. Other characters have emerged this season, including Ron van Vlaanderen champion Casper Asgreen, Duesennick Quickstep, reformed sprinter Sonny Colbrelli, Bahrain victorious, former winners like Peter Sagan, Bora Hansgrohe, and road-tested calm hands like Zdenek Stybar, Duesennick Quickstep. However, Paris-Roubaix is so unexpected that predicting who would win early on is like throwing darts while wearing a blindfold. Riders from the breakaway are present in each section. Viesley is punctured by de Klerk, Haller, Oss, Viti. The list goes on as the groups suffer blow after blow. What exactly is a peloton? There's a 2-minute gap by Sector 28, and Van Aert and Van der Poel's forces, like everything else, are fragmented. From the break, a trio emerges ahead in the mayhem of Sector 26, a scant 2 out of 5 stars in difficulty: Luke Rowe, Max Walscheid, Nils Eekhoff, and Vermeesch. It's a strange bunch. Rowe is the epitome of a road captain, as tough and seasoned as they come. Walscheid, one of the peloton's biggest guys, more quarterback than the rider, is a sprinter termed time trialist. Both Eekhoff and Vermeesch are newcomers to this race and the World Tour. There's chaos in the air. Sagan collides, effectively ending the 2018 winner's day, and Kung collides for the 3rd time. Capel-Rousnes. 24th Sector Walscheid goes down hard, a big body crashing over the handlebars as his bike simply slides out from under him just as Rowe can't take it any longer and drops like a stone. Sure, not everyone can be a multifunctional wunderkind like Van der Poel, but here are some of the world's top bike handlers. When compared to the total number of hours ridden, bike crashes are rather rare. Even the finest bikers in the world, however, cannot control the weather, and the uncertain surface beneath them causes panic to rise in their chests, makes them twitchy and uncomfortable, and to some extent, there is nothing they can do when tragedy and physics conspire against them. Strength can win Paris-Roubaix. It is possible to win with your head. However, it can also be won by chance, which is pretty unsatisfactory. We want to see the best of the best make it to the end, yet luck is just as valid as competence as a narrative intervention. If it hadn't been for riders like Sagan, or say a resurgent Matej Mohori, this race may have gone very differently. Could have done it, but didn't. Then in the front, 2 appeared from the Rousnes Pavé, Vermeesch and Eekhoff. 2 young men struggling for their lives alone against the elements and the greatest in the world who want to catch them. They have nearly a minute. It reaches over 3 feet in height. Meanwhile, in what we shall call the bunch, Van Aert could use a holiday. Since his crash during the 2019 Tour de France, the man has been on a steady cycle of work and recuperation, work and recovery. If it's not Classic season, it's Grand Tour season. If it's not Grand Tour season, it's cyclocross season. And right now, at Paris-Roubaix, his face is caked in mud, with dark rain streaks and sweat forming chasms in the grit. He's gripping his handlebars tightly, attempting to keep an eye on the competitor in front of him. Behind Van Aert, Christophe Laporte's brakes are worn out, to the point where he needs to reach behind him with his foot to slow his bike down manually. A genuine monument to the heinousness of the day. Van Aert considers this up front. He sits and waits. Kerenang, Sector 22, 3 stars. It comes just 1 mile after the last part, a jolt after a jolt. The worst challenge will also approach soon in less than 12 miles, 4-star Haveluy, followed by the famed Ehrenberg Trench. Van Aert learns about the time gaps and probably thinks to himself, this has gone on long enough. They're running out of time to play games. He makes a decision and drives away as soon as his front tire rattles against the pavé. On his wheel are Michael Kwiatkowski and Eduardo Affini. Van der Poel recognizes the opportunity and snags it. The peloton separates. Oh, Matthew thinks, Wout wants to try his hand, Why not make it challenging? He pulls when the road smooths out. If you want to win Paris-Roubaix, you can do so in 2 ways, by being the strongest and all champions are powerful, or by being the smartest. Well, that's all for today's video. Please do like the video and subscribe to our channel.